FitInTech Nation, it is day 57. We are we are within the 2-week period, the final 2-week period of this challenge. And hopefully you are getting in and you are doing your workouts. Hopefully you feel safe enough to come in and do that. Again, just to reiterate, you've got to book in Zen Planner your time, and this is reserved to 5 people max. If you come in the middle of the day in the week, there's generally nobody there. Okay, so I'm just putting it out there for anybody who is reluctant to come in. In terms of your workouts, your upper and lower body, please make sure that you get a good mix in, an even mix. So if 1 week you do 2 lowers and 1 upper, the next week you got to do 2 uppers and 1 lower. Okay, so make sure you get that even balance of workouts in. Okay, so let's get into some questions here because there's one topic I want to talk about and it's going to take me a little while. So I'm going to get right into this question here. Basically, somebody has a knee injury and, I'll just read it to you. Revised lower body resistance training plan to accommodate left knee. No 10 rep max load and no flexion past 60 degrees because they can't bend the knee very much, not to a significant degree. Please advise reps and load in endurance or hypertrophy. Okay, so I'm not sure why you're asking for endurance. Are you talking about cardio for this? I'm not sure what you mean by endurance or hypertrophy. No, because you're saying endurance or hypertrophy. Okay, so all of our training basically is designed towards hypertrophy, which is more muscle building. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to get some endurance out of it. In terms of what I would recommend for you and your situation, you've got to scale back on the load. You just have to, okay? And then take advantage of that to maximize all the cues of the movement. That is the positioning of the body, the tempo, the speed, especially on those eccentrics. Perhaps even really working on squeezing all the muscles as you come down. So basically trying to get really the most out of the least amount of load. That's what I recommend to you. This is, and believe me, you're talking to somebody who has dealt with this, I cannot tell you how many times. It's in the dozens, literally. You'll be okay working in that 50 to 60% load, no problem. Okay, given what I know of your knee. Just be sure not to go too deep in terms of in this case, I'm talking about the amount of flexion. So not too much flexion, not too much bending in the knee. And again, we got to scale back that load. Okay, really work on the eccentrics. This is important for everybody, by the way. Eccentrics are huge. I mean, it boggles my mind sometimes when I see people lower the weight. They go through the eccentric portion of the movement, and they go through it so fast, and I'm like, oh my God, like you can't feel the weight. You can't feel the weight until you have to turn around and come back up. And that is scary, okay? Especially when you're using weight that's heavy for you. It's one thing to do that with lightweight. It's a whole other thing to do that with heavy weight. This is why I always say as you go heavier, you go slower. Feel the weight. Know your positioning of your body. You can't really control the positioning of your body, especially if you're new, if you're coming down at lightning speed. Okay, or going through that eccentric phase during lightning speed. So, especially in this case, take advantage of those eccentrics. Stay at that 10 rep range. There's nothing wrong with staying at the 10 rep range. Just work on those cues and get the most out of the least. Okay, in terms of load. All right. Marijuana. Let's talk about it. This is actually a big topic. There's many active ingredients in marijuana, and they have different effects on the body. I'm only going to talk about THC today, but we could talk about cannabidiol or CBD. I'm going to talk about THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol. It's a hard one to say. We're getting closer to that organic chemistry name or nomenclature. I can't talk today apparently. Which basically describes the compound itself, okay? The chemical structure of the compound. Anyways, tetrahydrocannabinol. Tetrahydrocannabinol. I don't know why it's so hard to say, but apparently it's not that hard to say. Okay, anyways, let's talk about the effects. So there's THC has an effect on the brain, and then you can think of this as like a pathway. You've heard me talk about the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axes before. Well, there's different pathways from the brain. Basically, you can think of these as like the brain sending messages to other parts of the brain, which then send messages to peripheral areas of the body. Well, I don't know if peripheral areas is the best way to put it, but sending messages to other areas of the body. So we've got the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axes. Okay, the adrenals sit essentially on top of your kidneys. But we also have things like the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axes. We've got the hypothalamus pituitary gonad axes, right? This is obviously down to the areas of the reproductive system. And so drugs and different things can have an effect on these pathways. So let's just talk about THC. I'm going to say it one more time. THC, tetrahydrocannabidiol. That's better. And its effects on the body. Okay, so what do we see here? Well, first of all, I'm not totally sure, but I don't know if this is actually seen in humans or not. So let's clarify this. And also, the downfall here is that marijuana hasn't really been legal for a very long time, at least not here and in most parts of the world. So the amount of research on it is, there's not a lot of research. So what do we see? We see a lowering of testosterone. That's not a good thing. We see a lowering in productive ability, both in men and women. So we see a lowering in luteinizing hormone and sperm motility in males, obviously. In women, we see irregularity in the menstrual cycle. We see a lowering in the libido. We see an increase in corticosteroids. So we see an increase in cortisol production in the body. And aldosterone. This is basically going to make your body hold more water. We also see an effect on the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axes. So it basically downregulates your thyroid, so you're not producing as much T3 and T4. So this is another interesting thing. So, and this is, like as I mentioned before, your thyroid just happened to be yesterday. I talked about this. Your thyroid is like the master gland that helps to regulate the speed of your basal metabolic rate, right? The amount of energy you're going to burn throughout the day at rest. So, I think though that well, I don't think this. I read that this is all within. This is when the active ingredient is in your bloodstream. So, however long it takes to get out of your bloodstream, I haven't looked it up. I'm not sure. I don't think it has a very long half-life. So if you're smoking it infrequently, I probably wouldn't worry about it. If you're smoking it daily, yeah, I might be concerned. So just keep that in mind. Although some people do claim to see things like sleep improvement, and there's a claim that it's neuroprotective, good for the nervous system. People also claim that it helps them focus, helps them relax. I'm not sure about that, okay? Maybe that's with other compounds within within cannabis. These are obviously anecdotal, right? So anyway, some interesting things to take away from there, right? So we see again basically an effect on your testosterone levels, your reproductive ability, your thyroid, and of course the stress hormones. We see an increase in basically stress hormones in the body. So definitely not something. The more I read about, and I've actually never tried marijuana before. I had no problem trying. I just don't see any reason why. I just don't have that desire. Again, I probably wouldn't be too concerned with it if you're doing it here and there. I don't think it's probably not a big deal. But also the other thing that we didn't talk about too is the amount. So obviously we're going to see more of these effects if the higher amount that you ingest, of course, right? So this is very, very dose dependent in terms of the size of the dose and then the frequency of the dose as well. Okay. So, kind of interesting. I'm gonna read up more on it because again, this is not something I've read about really before, and I'm certainly far from being any kind of expert on this topic. Okay, let's get to the message of the day. All right, 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. So here is. This comes from Craig Ballantyne. He's basically more like a business coach, but he has he's got many great sayings, and this is one that I want to share with you. Here are 7 beliefs you must have to live a great life. Number 1, I decide how I feel no matter the circumstances. I have so much to be thankful for. That's number 2. Number 3, being myself attracts the right people. Number 4, I am capable of anything. Number 5, kindness always wins. Number 6, I have so much to offer. And number 7, my best is yet to come. All right? So 7 beliefs you must have to live a greater life. Let's say it one more time. 1, I decide how I feel no matter the circumstances. Number 2, I have so much to be thankful for. Number 3, being myself attracts the right people. Number 4, I am capable of anything. Number 5, kindness always wins. Number 6, I have so much to offer. And number 7, my best is yet to come. On that note, positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself for the love of God. Give some gratitude, be thankful, and I'll talk to you guys all very soon. 14 days, less than 14 days, 13 days. Let's go, focus, head down, and do your best. Bring in the best results you can for the next scan that's coming up, the last scan. We'll see you guys.